Welcome, bienvenido. Today is Monday. It is the first Monday of November. It is the first Monday of November. And I had said in a previous video that starting today I was going to record every day that is humanly possible for me. Easier said than done, in all honesty, because I am exhausted. Now, last week, because we were moving from a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, the exhaustion was more physical than anything else because it was a madhouse. But now it's a completely different kind of exhaustion. Everything is here. Well, most of the stuff is here, the other stuff is in storage, but the majority of the stuff that is here is what I'm hoping to keep here until I start selling some of my own belongings and whatnot. And the truth of it is that it's absolutely overwhelming because I am going at a snail's pace. If you look behind me, you're going to see my bed, and in my bed there's little stacks of magazines with different topics because I'm using them for research for different things. There's on this side there's books. That mountain that you see behind me is not a dead body. That's actually a jacket that is on top of the bed sheets that are supposed to be on the bed. And then more boxes and more boxes on either side and whatnot. It has been it has been very overwhelming. It also brings up a separate issue, which is I want to put things in their place so I don't have to be looking for them later and not knowing where they are and getting confused and whatnot. So, for example, the kitchen, I'm basically reconfiguring the entire kitchen because one of the things that I discovered as I was putting stuff away is that there's a ton of stuff that we purchased for the purpose of cooking that we've never used and sometimes even replaced because we didn't know we had them. So I'm working through that so that I organize the kitchen in a way that works for us because we need to start cooking more at home. Which brings me to my second reason for being exhausted. It has been 2 weeks since I gave up cow meat on a process that I'm hoping that eventually leads me closer to being plant-based as opposed to anything else, because I have noticed that for some reason cow meat specifically is the biggest culprit, but my stomach issues seem to get a lot worse when I'm eating red meat. So I don't eat chicken anymore. I am also not eating turkey. I don't eat anything that flies. As far as what do you call it, pork, the only things I eat pork related are ham and bacon, and they're basically like little droplets for um, other food items. For example, I love this thing, shrimp and grits. It's a very popular plate here in Florida, and I absolutely love it. And shrimp and grits has bacon, little sprinkling of bacon on top. So, but the main objective was to get rid of the red meat. And unfortunately, when we were moving, there were 3 days when I didn't have a kitchen on either side. So we were basically eating outside the home. And one of those days I gave up because I was just so tired. And the rest of the family eats meat. So I was like, okay, just get me a hamburger and get it over with. And that was something I paid for the rest of the week. I just started feeling better today. So that doesn't help. Then you add to that today was my yearly eye doctor visit. And they do that thing where they put the drops on your eyes and they, oh my God, that is the worst, by the way. Because the funny thing is that I didn't want to do it. And the doctor convinced me to do it. He's like, don't worry about driving. You're going to be able to drive. You're going to have more problems seeing up close than you're going to have far away. And of course, the light is an issue because they dilate your pupils. Yeah, no. I totally forgot I had an event at 6 p.m. today, and I just came home, and I don't know how I drove home because I could barely make out. And it's really weird because I can see. It's just that it feels, I don't even know how to explain it. Okay, I know how I'm going to explain it. Imagine, if you will, that somebody put a little bit of oil or some sort of fatty substance on your glasses so that you kind of sort of see, but it's in some areas you see pretty well, and in other areas it's very blurry. That's what it felt like. And of course, the sun was coming down because we just had the daylight savings time ending yesterday, which made it so that in the morning it's lighter earlier, but then at night it also goes darker earlier. And at the time that we got out of the doctor's office, the sun was already coming down. So if I would have tried to make it to Orlando by 6 p.m., I probably would have crashed the car. I'm not gonna lie about that. So that was horrible. But that has been the week inside the home. Now I'm going to talk to you about something, and this is not about politics. I just want to let you know right off the bat, this is not about politics. In my opinion, we should all be able to just fire every single one of them and hire brand new people, because I don't trust any one of them. But we're going to talk about a situation because it is beginning to get on my last nerve, and it's actually two issues that are interrelated. So as I'm talking about one, I'm going to mention the other one. I don't know if you remember last week we had a little incident on Halloween night when some lunatic decided to start shooting people at a park in New York. And as soon as it happened, the president started talking about how it was a terrorist act and we have to restrict who comes into the country, blah, blah, blah. Now, yesterday, there was an incident in Texas where some other lunatic decided to go to a church and shoot people, and he killed 26 people. And, oh, he has mental illness. It bothers me when they use mental illness as an excuse, because there's a lot of different types of mental illnesses, and unfortunately the way the system is geared up in the United States, people, when they think of mental illness, they think about crazy people shooting other people. It's the image we've given them. People don't understand that depression is a mental illness, anxiety is a mental disorder, um, anorexia and bulimia are mental disorders. They reflect on food, but they are actually mental disorders. Uh, what's the name of the one that I have? Okay. I have this thing where things have to be exactly in their place, or it drives me nuts, and I forgot the name of the actual disorder because I have an alphabet soup of disorders and I just don't keep track of them anymore because I don't care. But that is a mental disorder, and it has to do with control. What else? There's a lot of mental disorder. Ooh, dementia. There's a lot of mental disorders that are not capable of killing people, or might evolve into other things, but they start out as innocuous things that people just don't keep an eye on. And it's really, really important for people to understand that there's a difference between mental disorders, and they're just as important. One is just as important as the other. Am I saying that the New York guy had a mental disorder? No. Am I saying that the one in Texas didn't have a mental disorder? No. I personally think any person that thinks it's okay to walk into a public place and shoot people has some mental issues. I actually do. Because if you value life, yours or somebody else's, you would not kill anybody else. And I'm not talking about a military or a police officer that has to defend himself or have. I'm talking about people just grabbing a gun and going somewhere and shooting people. That's one thing. The second thing is, you can sugarcoat it as much as you want, but we have an issue with guns in this country. Now, you can let the NRA dictate what and who can have a gun. There's two things about this that I don't like. Number one, I understand that you have every right to have a gun if you want to. By the way, that's not what the Second Amendment says, but I believe you actually do have the right to have a gun if you want to. I don't understand why that gun has to be an AK-47. And I'm being sarcastic. I realize an AK-47 is not one of the ones that are permitted. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of guns that are allowed as a person with a permit can have. And I absolutely see no reason for any human being on earth to have something like that in their home. If you're gonna give me the crap that you're doing it for protection, you shouldn't have them in your home. The second thing that I have an issue with, and that we really need to start telling the NRA to knock it off, is the issue of mental illness. I don't see why any person with any type of mental disorder has a right to have a gun. Because, by the way, that's what was signed into law. Having a mental illness does not uh, eliminate you or exclude you from having a gun. There is no reason in the planet why a person that is severely depressed should have a gun. Whether it's to kill themselves or to kill somebody else, they should not have access to a gun, period. So I do have a problem with that. Now, the third issue that I want to bring up is the fact that people always say, oh, well, guns don't kill people. Whoops. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. And that is true. That is very true. If people, instead of a gun, had to kill people with a knife or with some other method, it would be a lot slower and it would be a lot easier for other people to catch them and stop them from doing it. It's a lot harder to stop a gun than it is to stop a machete. It's just logistics speaking. If you have a knife and you're stabbing people to death, yes, you're going to get to kill a couple of people. But to be honest with you, I would be capable of trying to stop you if you have a knife. If you have a gun, I'm not going to stop you at all. You're probably going to kill me before I even try to stop you. And that's an issue. The second issue that I have, the fourth issue that I have is this. People say, well, if people had guns, they could have stopped the guy from shooting in the church. First of all, I don't understand why anybody has to shoot in this church to begin with. When I was growing up, churches were sanctuaries. You were not supposed to allow any kind of violence inside a church. Period. We have lost all respect for our institutions. And this is all of our fault, not just the bad guys. We have all lost all respect for our institutions. And having said that, I also will say, if it would have turned into a shootout at the OK Corral in this church because a couple of people had guns and this guy had a gun, how many more innocent people would have died because of stray bullets? Because when you're nervous, you start running. You don't pay attention to where the shots are coming. The shots are coming from. You start running. Do I think that would have helped? Not necessarily. There was a gentleman that was outside and started shooting at the guy. And everybody's like, oh, he's a hero. Yeah, he's a hero because he lived. Had something happened and because of him shooting, somebody else would have died, I bet you money he would not be a hero today. Because that's the way we are. We like to blame everybody. And we like to find excuses. And the reality is, we have a person that may or may not have a mental disorder with access to a gun that he should not have access to, entering into a sanctuary and turning it into a crime scene. And this is happening more and more and more. I don't know if you go to the movies a lot. I used to love going to the movies. I rarely go to the movies right now. And it's not because we've had some financial trouble, so it's not like, but we have a $2 theater here. There's no reason why I shouldn't go to a $2 theater except for the fact that every time I go to a public place, I'm always looking for how quick can I get out of here. Because the first thing that comes to my head is, what if there's a shootout? I don't know but I did not live like that the first 45 years of my life. And I hate that I live like that. I hate that I have a 25-year-old daughter who's going to be 26 next week, who admitted to me recently that that's the first thing that goes through her head every time she goes anywhere. Is, where are the exits? How do I get from point A to point B? Where can I crawl in through? Why? Life should not be like that. Seems to me that the more we progress in life, the worse off we are. And that's a sad statement to make. We need to do something about these guns. We need to do something about all this hate and all this anguish and all this hostility and ignorance around the world. Not just here, around the world. If we eliminate ISIS on their backyard, but whatever we do causes them to come here, we didn't solve the problem. This is why I don't believe wars work, because we're not solving the problem, we're just putting a patch on it. So let me know what you think. Right now I'm kind of like, bleh. Between the things inside the house and the things outside the house, it's been a rough day. And this is my favorite time of the year. It's the time between Halloween and my birthday is usually the best 21 days of the year, and for some reason I'm just not having a great time. So leave me your thoughts below, and thank you so much for watching.